Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the 2024 presidential election map between incumbent President Joe Biden, who will be facing off the former President Donald Trump in a rematch from 2020 by using the most recent polls as of this month, which is March. So basically, I'm going to be filling out the 2024 map based off of March polling data from the month of March. So basically, out of this month. Based off of polls alone, this has nothing to do with my actual prediction. Make sure you are subscribed if you aren't already, as we are approaching 2,000 subscribers, and click the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video instead of missing out on any of them. And also, we have channel memberships. It will be pinned in the comment section down below. That's where you can find the link, or you can find it in the description section, or you can just click the join button on my channel page. Become a member today. We have custom perks and custom emojis. Now back to today's video. Polling averages currently out as of March has Donald Trump up in the state of Nevada, and Trump has always been leading in the state of Nevada in 2024. So the projected margin for Trump is 1 percentage points, and current polls have him up by 2% on the average. And you factor in other things, not just polls. For example, betting markets, Biden actually wins Nevada by almost 2%. And then you take a look at expert ratings. Experts suggest that this race is a dead toss-up. It's 50-50. Biden's only up by 0.2%. So for the most part, Trump is up in this state, but polls tend to typically overestimate Republican chances. For example, the 2022 midterms, Adam Laxalt was poised. He was set to do very well in that Senate race, and guess what? He didn't win. He lost to Catherine Cortez Masto, so he underperformed those polls. And also, maybe you can say that he only lost because of the snowstorm that ruined his campaign. I mean, you can make a case for that, but really, but honestly, I'm going to say it like it is. He underperformed. So with that being said, we're going to characterize Nevada tilt for Donald Trump according to polls out of the month of March. He's up by around 1 percentage points. But keep in mind that they do underestimate him, so the realistic margin will probably be a complete toss-up 50-50 at the moment, which I think is pretty accurate and fair to say at this point in time. So in order for Donald Trump to do very well in this state of Nevada, he's going to have to flip Reno County. It's a must. If he doesn't flip it, then he's most likely not winning. He's actually certain to not win the state of Nevada. So number one is he must flip Reno County. That's number one. Number two is he must improve on his margin from the Las Vegas area or Clark County. Now, he may not necessarily have to flip Clark County, but what he can do is improve on his margin. And if Biden wins it by more than 6 points, then Trump is probably not going to win the state of Nevada in 2024. And number three is that Hispanics are key to winning the state of Nevada. If Trump can improve on his margin from 2020 among Hispanics or minorities and Asian Americans, or improve on his margin, then he very well can win Nevada. But if he doesn't do at least two of those three things, then he's probably not going to win this state. So that's what Trump should focus on. And obviously, it's not the end of the Trump's campaign. If he loses Nevada, he still can very well win the election, as he did in 2016. He passed 300 electoral votes without winning Nevada. So obviously, Nevada would just add to his margin, but it's not going to help him actually get to 270 electoral votes. As for Arizona, Trump is up by around 1.5 percentage points, which is considered a tilt margin when you factor in other things. But if you take a look at polling averages alone, he actually expands his margin of around 5%, which takes it to a lean column. You take a look at betting markets, Biden's up by 1% in this state. Expert ratings has it a dead tie, basically a toss-up 50-50 chance. Biden's only up by 0.1%. So overall, Trump's doing good. It's looking pretty good for Trump in the state of Arizona. Arizona typically overestimates Democrats, which is the complete opposite of what Nevada is. You take a look at Nevada, it overestimates Republicans. But Arizona is a little bit different. It's the polar opposite of Nevada. So at this point in time, I can say as of March, polling data suggests that Trump is poised and favored to flip back the state of Arizona from blue to red and at 2024. There's a few things that Trump can do in order to win Arizona in 2024, win over the undecided/independent voters. And the vice president is key to that. And I made a video recently about how the vice president is so important. And if Trump picks someone who is a far-right MAGA extremist, then that's not going to help him with the independent voters. So this is where the VP position is very key. If Trump can pick more of a moderate candidate, maybe even a former Democrat as his vice president, for example, Tulsi Gabbard, it's going to help him along the way. It really will. So that's why the vice president position is more important than what people think, because it helps win over the undecided voters. And also, Trump should be more friendly when he talks about John McCain, because Arizona voters get really offended to that. Arizona obviously is filled with a bunch of neoconservatives. The Mitt Romneys of Arizona make up a big majority of the state. Same with the John McCain style voters. And if Trump keeps attacking John McCain in harsh ways, and if he keeps attacking veterans, which I think he doesn't really anymore, he used to back in 2020 apparently, then I think he can do good in Arizona. And you take a look at what's happening with the borders. Arizona's a border state, and if they really are affected by the border, then it only helps Donald Trump. And immigration, that is the issue where Joe Biden is the most disapproved of. The issue where Joe Biden is most hated on happens to be immigration. And what is Arizona? A border state. So it only favors Donald Trump in the long run, which it makes sense that polling averages out of March suggest that Trump is favored in the state of Arizona by a tilt margin. It's going to be close no matter what, because obviously the state is shifting in favor of Democrats. Futuristic-wise, you have these Californians, they can't afford to live there anymore, so they go down south to Arizona and they trend the state blue. Not saying Trump can't win it. Obviously, March polls suggest that Trump is the favorite to win Arizona. And then out of New Mexico, Biden is expected to win the state by around 7 to 8 percentage points, which is enough to consider it a likely margin. I don't expect the state to get that close. I don't expect it to get that competitive. Maybe Trump can have it within 5 to 6 percentage points. For Joe Biden, he can make it close, but I don't see it getting any closer under 5 points. I think 7 points is actually somewhat reasonable of a margin for Joe Biden in New Mexico. And then Colorado, actually, believe it or not, is actually safe according to polling averages out of March. Biden's up in this state by around 10 percentage points, which is double digits. So, I mean, Colorado is a state that is trending in favor of Democrats. You have these Californians, similar to Arizona. They're moving to Colorado as well, and it's only going to trend the state in favor of Democrats. So Colorado is getting more bluer than it already is, obviously. It's already a blue state. Trump's winning this state, according to March polls, by a likely margin of around 7 percentage points. Close to 8 points, actually, which is likely. Polling averages have him up by around 8 points. Betting markets have him up by even more, which is 9 points. You take a look at expert ratings, which is 7 points. So basically, the average Trump is leading in Texas out of March polling data is around 7 percentage points, which is a likely margin. 50% to Joe Biden's 43 percentage points. Similar to Arizona, they are both border states. So considering Joe Biden is the most disapproved on the issue of immigration, it only favors Donald Trump. And if people really are impacted by the border crisis, then they will get high turnout for Donald Trump, and I believe that will happen, and I believe that will be the case. So, be likely for Donald Trump. And then same thing goes for Florida. Florida is also considered likely according to polling averages out of March. The projected margin is 8 to 9 percentage points in the state of Florida. Polling averages actually has Donald Trump close to 10 points, double digits, which is very good for the Trump campaign. And then betting markets has it within 8 points, and then expert ratings has Trump winning it by 7 points. So all of those are likely to safe margins, arguably safe, but I leave it likely for the sake of this video. And I expect Trump might actually be able to win Miami-Dade County. This is a county that Ron DeSantis flipped in the 2022 midterms. So basically, the entire state of Florida has abandoned the Democratic Party, and they're shifting in favor of Republicans, and they're soon to be a safe Republican state. If not, it is already basically. Ron DeSantis won by nearly 20 percentage points back in 2022. So if Trump gets double digits, maybe even 10%, I won't be surprised. Florida is pretty much a lost cause for Democrats at this point. Hispanics actually favor Republicans more than any other state in the state of Florida alone. So considering that fact, I don't expect Florida to be competitive. And if Trump does not win it by at least 7 percentage points, if he gets under 7 points, then in my opinion, that is a underperformance. I think he should get over 7 points. And I think he very well can, and that's what the polls are reflecting. Trump is favored to win Florida by a likely margin. It's not going to be competitive. And that's exactly what the polls as of March are saying. And then as for Georgia, according to polling averages out of March, Trump wins this state by a lean margin. And now you compare it back to February it's actually getting closer and Biden's actually doing better. So if you take a look at polling averages from February and you compare it to this month, which is March, Georgia actually goes more in favor of Biden, but Trump is still winning it by a lean margin. You see, polling averages has Trump up in the state of Georgia by 6 percentage points, but then you take a look at betting markets, it actually gets closer in favor of Joe Biden. Trump is only up by under 1%, and then expert ratings has it a 50-50 tie. Trump's only up by 0.1, so that's how close it gets in the state of Georgia. That's when you factor in other things. Trump's only up by 2%. But you take a look at polling averages alone, and you don't factor betting markets, you don't factor expert ratings, you take a look at polling averages only, then Trump is actually up by a greater margin of 6%. So whether it's 2 or 6%, it doesn't matter. That's enough to characterize it as lean for Donald Trump. The main reason why Biden won this state back in 2020 was because he got high turnout among African-American voters, which I do not expect him to do the same in 2024 this time around. A lot of them say they actually regret voting for him, and the only reason why they did was because he chose Kamala Harris as his running mate. Obviously, she is the most disapproved of vice president in U.S. history, so considering that as well, I don't expect Joe Biden to crack the nearly 90% he got among blacks in 2024. I just don't. I think he could drop to 80%, maybe even as low as 70%. And that's what the polls are saying. The minority vote in 2020 was key for a Biden victory. And this time around in 2024, Biden is underperforming among minorities. And then as for North Carolina, Trump is winning this state according to March polls by a lean margin, which is the same margin back in February. So nothing has really changed much here. North Carolina, Trump's up by nearly 6 percentage points according to polling averages. And then you take a look at the projected margin when you factor in other things like betting markets / expert ratings. It gets a little bit closer, but it still doesn't matter. Trump is pretty much comfortably winning this state by 4 percentage points. Betting markets have Trump up by 4. Expert ratings has Trump up by 3. So really, no matter what thing you take a look at, whether it's expert ratings, betting markets, or polling averages, it all heavily, significantly favors Trump, and they actually have him doing better in North Carolina than his 2016 margin of 3%. So when it comes to North Carolina, things look very, very good for Trump and bad for the Biden campaign. And then as for Virginia, Biden only wins this state according to March polling averages by a lean margin. And keep in mind, folks, Biden won this state by a safe margin of double digits back in 2020. So considering that Biden does way worse in Virginia is not good for him in terms of nationwide overall support, and it's going to help Trump with the popular vote. You see right here, only polling averages have him up by 5 percentage points. And obviously this video is based off of polling averages. You factor in other things like betting markets, which is where we can just take a look at it, but it's not the point of the video. The video is polling averages alone. Biden actually wins by almost 10%. You take a look at expert ratings, it actually favors Biden even more, which I don't think is on the accurate side, because considering that Biden's ceiling, in my opinion, in Virginia specifically, his ceiling in this state is 10 points, which is what he got last time. I don't think he's going to get near 10 points. He may get 7 percentage points, but he's not going to get 10. And I don't think that betting markets are very accurate on this. I would actually trust the polling averages, which is similar to the margin Hillary Clinton got in 2016, considering that Joe Biden is doing as bad as Hillary Clinton did in 2016. Obviously, polls had her doing way better than Biden, I believe. But in terms of the outcome, the polls are suggesting that this might be a repeat of 2016 rather than 2020. People may say that this election is very similar to 2020 because obviously this is a rematch between two of the same candidates. So it may be deceiving, and you probably will think this is more like 2020 because you have two of the same candidates. Well, it's really not. A lot of things that happened in 2020 are not happening this election cycle. For example, COVID. There's no COVID. It hurt Trump. And guess what? There's no COVID, so it's not going to come and haunt him again. And also, you don't have these BLM shenanigans. You're not going to see that in 2024. So that also helps Donald Trump. And you take a look at the border crisis, that also helps Donald Trump. And then back in 2020, the difference between 2024, this election, is that we did not have that many third-party candidates running. And the more third-party candidates there is, it actually benefits Donald Trump, similar to 2016. So we're actually seeing more things in common with the 2016 election for 2024 rather than 2020. There wasn't as much as third-party candidates in 2020. Around you have RFK Jr., you have Cornel West, even Jill Stein, which actually she ran in 2016, in which Trump destroyed Clinton So this election is looking more like 2016 rather than 2020, which actually benefits Donald Trump. And then Ohio, Trump's up by 8 to 9 percentage points, which is similar to the margin in February polling data, which things have not really changed. Obviously, Ohio's a lost cause for Democrats at this point. They've just shifted away from the Democratic Party ever since Obama left office. The Trump era in 2016, Ohio has been favoring Republicans ever since, and it is soon to be a solid Republican state. I'm not saying it is right now, but as polls say, Trump is likely going to win this state. It's not going to be competitive. It's not going to be close whatsoever. Trump's comfortably going to win it with a comfortable margin, of a likely margin. And then moving on to the Rust Belt states. Let's start off with Minnesota for the first Rust Belt state. Biden's up in the state according to polling averages by only 4 percentage points. And then you factor in betting markets and expert ratings, it actually gets better for Biden. He's up by 7 to 8 percentage points. And then you average that out, the projected margin comes to 6 percentage points for Joe Biden. So that is considered lean. Minneapolis, the suburbs of Minnesota, has been trending in favor of Democrats, and I just don't expect Minnesota to go to Donald Trump. It may get close. It really can get close, but as close as it does get, I just don't think Trump is in reach to win this state in 2024. I will be shocked if he wins Minnesota, because if he wins Minnesota, that opens up the door to a possibility of an electoral landslide, which I don't think is likely happening right now. And then the next Rust Belt state is Wisconsin. Polls from March out of Wisconsin suggest that Trump is up in this state by around 2 percentage points. You take a look at the projected margin, he's up by 2 points, and then betting markets actually favors Biden by 1 point, and expert ratings has it a dead tie at 50-50 toss-up. Biden's only up by 0.1%. So for the most part, polling averages have Trump up in Wisconsin, which is really good because polls actually underestimated Trump in 2020 in this state and actually overestimated Biden's support in Wisconsin. So there is a really possibility that actually Trump does actually better than just 2%, which we're going to characterize that a tilt margin for Donald Trump in the state of Wisconsin. Polls actually had Biden winning this by 7 points in 2020, and guess what? He did not come close to that. He won it by under a percentage point. For Michigan, you take a look at what's happening with Israel and Gaza. I know Biden just sent aid there, but I'm not sure if that's going to change anything. Arab Americans are not happy with the Biden administration. He is too much pro-Israel, and that's not going to help. Considering that 240,000 Arabs or Muslims live in the state of Michigan, that is enough, guys. That is enough to actually flip the state from blue to red in Donald Trump's favor. I'm not saying they will vote for Trump, but what they can do is just not turn out for Biden. And if Biden gets low turnout in Michigan, you can very well be seeing a red Michigan in this year's election. Trump up in the state by a tilt margin for 2024 in the state of Michigan. You take a look at the margin. Current polling averages as of March has Trump up by almost 3 points in Michigan, which is very, very good for a Republican. Michigan hasn't really been a red state at all in the last couple of decades. Really, Obama locked down this state. And then betting markets actually favors Biden by almost 3 points. And expert ratings has Biden up by under 1%. So this video, obviously, we can factor in those things. As an example, you take a look at the projected margin, Trump is still up by under a point in this state. But we're only focusing on polling averages. Trump is up by 2.5 percentage points in this state, which is very good for a Republican, like I mentioned earlier. And then moving on to the last and final Rust Belt state, which is the state of Pennsylvania. The complete opposite of Wisconsin and Michigan, as where Biden is up in this state according to polling averages as of March by almost 2 percentage points, which actually is probably one of the brighter news for the Biden campaign. And then you take a look at the projected margin, it actually gets closer. He's still up, but it's under a percentage point, 0.2%. You factor in other things like betting markets, Biden's up by nearly 2 points. Expert ratings has Biden up by 0.7 in the state of Pennsylvania. So considering that polling averages has Biden up by 2 points in Pennsylvania, there's a real possibility where he can win this state in 2024. He only won this state by 1 point back in 2020, which is not the greatest margin at all. And which is about 80,000 votes. So I think if Trump can improve on Erie County, which is located in northwestern Pennsylvania, I think he's able to overperform in Pennsylvania. Not overperform, well, I mean, polls have Biden up, but he's able to do good, and maybe he can flip this state. And what helped Biden win Pennsylvania in 2020 was he got high turnout in the suburbs, the Philadelphia suburbs, the Pittsburgh suburbs type of area, and that's what helped Biden in 2020. And I'm not sure if it's going to be the same in 2024. But for the sake of this video, this is not my opinion. This is what the polls suggest, and the polls have Biden up in the state of Pennsylvania. Kind of confusing because Michigan actually voted to the left of Pennsylvania. But it's kind of fascinating that polls actually have Michigan voting to the right of Pennsylvania, which usually is not the case. Mainly, probably we now can say because of what's happening in Gaza. That's the main reason why. So it actually kind of makes sense. And then the last and final state to cover on this video before we end out. Biden's up in this state by a projected margin around 6 percentage points, which is characterized a lean margin. 49% to Donald Trump's 43%. You take a look at polling averages, Biden's up by 6 points. Betting markets, he actually expands his lead by 8 percentage points, which actually is a likely margin. And same thing goes for expert ratings. And only take a look at polling averages. We can factor betting markets and expert ratings, but you average all of those things out when you factor all of them in. Not just polling averages, it comes to a total of a projected margin of 6 percentage points, which is considered lean for Joe Biden. And obviously, he won this state by 8 points back in 2020, which I don't think he will win it by 8 points this time around. I think it will be pretty much closer. I think Biden probably wins it by 5 points, which is similar around the margin that the polls have him up by 6 points. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on this map. Obviously, this is not my prediction. This is what the polls say as of March, which is this month. So as of March, polling averages has Trump winning 293 electoral votes to his last and final term to Joe Biden's 245 electoral votes, which will send him off to retirement. So let me know what states you agree with, what the polls say, and what states you disagree with, and what your overall thoughts are on the polling averages and basically what they reflect on this map in the comment section down below. And one last final reminder before I end up the video is we do have channel memberships. The link to it will be pinned in the comment section down below, or you can find it in the description section, or you can click the join button on my channel page. Become a member today. We have custom perks and custom emojis. Also, make sure you are subscribed as we are approaching 2,000, and click the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video instead of missing out on any of them.